Hi, everybody. We're just going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to get logged in and settled as everybody joins. See a couple lovely familiar faces here, and give everybody just another minute, and then we'll hop in. Okay, perfect. You know what? We'll go ahead and start just because I want to be super conscious of everybody's time, and then we will, make sure to leave room for questions, and hopefully technology is in my favor. I feel like it's been a little off this week, to be honest with you. So I'm hoping that everything plays nice today. I did my little prayer to the technology gods before this. But to properly introduce myself, my name is Mel, and I'm the Chief Impact Officer here at Shop for Good by DailyKarma. And this is, I believe it's the third in the series that we've been producing kind of on a regular basis, all about impact in e-commerce, because I think, there is so much to digest when it comes to talking about how e-commerce and cause marketing and giving back are all playing together in the same space. And so every webinar we cover a different topic, and this is one that's actually really near and dear to my heart, which is focused on the ROI of impact. As I think that we know across the board, cause marketing is no longer a nice to have. In fact, 2020 continues to remind us of the immense power that consumers have when it comes to voting with their dollars, in many words. So, what fascinates me most is that there actually aren't more discussions about, why cause marketing is good for business and how to use these triggers to create tangible impact, not just for the nonprofits, but also for business, because I think there is this idea of like how it can kind of be double bottom line. And so that's really what the session is about. We're going to first kind of create a little bit of a framework, and then we will end with some lifetime examples and really talk about like how this has been working real time. So to help me with this, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. To help me with this, I've actually invited two partners with me today, Alanna Liles from John Masters Organics and Stephen Carl from Needle Movement. Would each of you like to take a couple of minutes and introduce yourself?
Ladies first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alanna, and thank you so much, Melanie, for having me and giving me this opportunity and giving me an excuse to get ready for once. I am the digital marketing manager for a company called John Masters Organics. We are a clean, cruelty-free, organic beauty company. We sell hair, skin, and body products, and I'm in charge of our e-commerce sales, email marketing, social media, influencer relationships, all the fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Okay, and my name is Stephen Carl. I run the digital marketing agency Needle Movement. And what Needle Movement does is we offer done-for-you services in email marketing, SMS, and Facebook Messenger, particularly for Shopify and BigCommerce stores. And I've done a lot of different e-commerce, and I love these channels most because they tend to be the most profitable for companies. So I've been in e-commerce for over 20 years, and I'm host of the Needle Movement podcast. I'm also a vegetarian, and I say vegetarian, I'm mostly vegan, but not 100%. And also I'm an avid fan of the emerging trend of conscious e-commerce.
Awesome. And that's what I think, that's why, when we were brainstorming ideas for these different webinars, this was one that I was really excited to have both of you involved with, because I think you're coming at this from different angles. Stephen, with your expertise kind of in like non-paid channels, with focusing on like, the actual messaging, like SMS and text and email, as well as your, range of experience prior to this. And then, Alanna focused, as being John Masters is kind of this mission-driven brand, if you will. So, and who has also happened to see some of that real positive ROI of impact. So I think, to always start at, we have to have a starting place, right? And so I'd like to kind of go through a few of the key steps to just for anyone who might be new to this idea of cause marketing, like what are those key steps for any give back campaign, starting with the brand side. Alanna, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about, how some of your existing brand values have played into, John Masters' decision to support certain causes, and how did you narrow that down?
Yeah, of course. Well, as I mentioned, we are a clean, cruelty-free, organic beauty brand. And we take pride in transparency with our products and in our ingredients. And one of our main values is that we will never, ever test on animals. So as a clean beauty consumer myself, this is something that I truly care about. And John Masters, the founder himself, this is something he really cared about as well. And even when he sold the company, he wanted to make sure that we would never, as a company, test our products on animals, 100% cruelty-free. So personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel this way, I would never work for a brand that doesn't share those same values as I share myself. And I feel that most of our customers feel that exact same way. So out of clean, cruelty-free, and organic, our customers care about at least one, if not all of those three values. So with that being said, we've done many donations to the SPCA, so that's just a no-brainer with us. Animal rights are something we feel strongly about, and so do our customers. So that charity always just resonates really well with them. We always get a lot of positive feedback when we're donating back to the SPCA.
And so kind of what I'm hearing there is that, like you kind of took those three things that John Masters stands for and know that anytime you're doing something, cause marketing related or give back related, typically you want to make sure that you're speaking to one of those values that not only John Masters shares, but also that your customers share. And I think that was really interesting how you just said that. It's like we stand for kind of these three things. And so we know that our customers tend to align with at least one of those, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Definitely.
That's awesome. And Stephen, on the flip side of it, for partners that maybe don't have as, defined brand values or defined, kind of cause marketing statements as, someone like John Masters does, do you have any advice on kind of how to get to that starting point when we talk about this idea of like positioning?
Yes, and I love that idea of there's any starting point that a company chooses. It's not 100% or nothing. But in e-commerce, it's really, the question is how you differentiate, because anybody can open up a Shopify store. Everything is modularized in retail now. So you have to figure out how you can differentiate. You could buy a pair of shoes from 200 different places. So for that consumer, what's the difference? And I think in the past, people really bought on price, kind of the likability, cool factor of things, if something solved a problem. But with recent marketing, everything's changed because there's so many great companies out there that have these high principles. And they're not, they didn't do it, they just did it because of those principles. They see a better way to manufacture a product. And now there's this audience that supports that. They say, I have those values too. And, if I can buy these shoes from 100 different places, why not pick the one that is really sustainable, that's giving to charity, that's a good corporate citizen? And that's where marketing has really changed, because we see brands as people. I mean, like, that's why there's a brand called Casper. And there's another brand called Andy that makes swimwear. And we want to have conversations with these brands, but those are direct conversations sometimes. So it used to be those three factors, and now a couple more have been added to the mix, which is now, it's not just price, cool, or solve a problem. It's what's this doing to the planet? And then it's like, is this company doing good? Do they care about people? Mm-hmm. So that's, and that's where, for conscious consumers, they're seeing the price, but now these other two values are influencing their purchases, because they know that they can vote with their wallets. And who doesn't want their money to go to a good place? I mean, we want to see the money we put in, invest, and supporting. We put a lot of our dollars into retail products, so it makes sense for the customer to want to get something back, and it makes them feel good about it.
Absolutely.
So for yeah.
No, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so for brand positioning, I think there's any starting place, and it starts with a charity drive. It starts with, having a position, and you can always, year after year, companies change their, evolve. Like Everlane did not start as a sustainability brand. It just said, oh, we want to have transparent factories, and year after year, they've gotten more involved in that.
I think that's really valuable. And you actually reminded me of, there's a statistic, I think it's 90% of customers when given, similar price and product, they will choose that brand that gives back. And so I think that idea of like conscious consumerism aligning with their values, like that is like, that's your metric, that's one of the things where like, okay, we know customers care, and that's great. And then kind of, I think the next natural step of this is like we've established our why, but then it's like, how, which is always, and that's why I like to have this as part of kind of every webinar we have. Like there's so many different ways to give back, there's so many different, some are more radical than others, how, I think this is for both of you, like how do you determine kind of which campaign to focus on, whether it's donating a percentage of sales or doing in kind, or doing something like Roundup, or how do you kind of determine that initial starting path, or how have you done it, Alanna, and then Stephen, any other additional stuff on that?
Yeah, totally. So I like to make it really easy for our customers and on myself. At John Masters, we're a very small, scrappy team. So in the past, I've done donate $5 to a specific charity that we've chosen and receive 20% off your order. So we'll pair this with a certain campaign. For example, on National Bunny Day, we had everyone donate $5. They received 20% off their order, and all of the donations went towards the SPCA. I think the set amount just makes it super simple and easy for our customers, and it makes it really easy for me to create an email and to market it. So, yep, there it is right there.
I'm putting it for everybody. I happen to have it available just in case.
Awesome. Yeah, so I feel like with the DailyKarma platform, it's just super straightforward. It's super simple and easy to set up. So yeah, the $5 off, 20%, $5 donated, 20% off of your purchase.
Okay, perfect. And for you in that particular campaign, like I'm always curious, like when you went into it, did you have set expectations? Were there particular sales metrics or goals that you had kind of in launching that campaign? And I know, just that was your first campaign with us, and that was kind of your first foray into this a little bit. So how did you kind of manage those expectations internally?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it definitely was a test for us, and it's something that we've never done before. So, I mean, obviously sales is, our number one goal because we're just trying to survive out here. But one of my goals was brand awareness and driving new customers in. This was a brand new thing. I didn't know how it would resonate with our customers. We ended up getting really great feedback. New customers came in and placed their purchase because obviously they want to shop with a brand who's doing something more, who's not just selling things.
So it wasn't like, it was about giving back, but what I'm kind of hearing in that is that it definitely was like, ultimately you need to make sure that you are surviving. Like, I think that sometimes that message brands don't always talk about. You're like, we have to do things that are still positive for our bottom line, because if you're doing things that hurt your bottom line as a brand, you're not going to be around to give back later on. And I think that's the idea of like the ROI. And it sounds like for that initial kind of foray into cause marketing that you did, maybe that it seems like, to summarize it a little bit, it seems like you saw, that, okay, wow, this was actually good for our bottom line, and our customers really enjoyed interacting with it.
Yeah, totally. We got new customers and they stuck around, they made a second purchase. They saw that we're continuing to donate, and they love that.
That's awesome. Stephen, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I am drooling over that product page where there is a donate now button right next to it. I mean, I think that is just, because you always want to put, it's great when you can have that little line at a point where people are making a decision. So, I think of the product page where you can do that, even on checkout, again, where like there are these points where people are deciding, am I going to do this or not? So that's the most powerful spot on the website where you can remind people of that decision. I mean, going into with give back messaging, what I like about how it can apply to your other channels, like like email or SMS, is I kind of see these campaigns as it's like a sale but with heart. It's the same, like we all know as retailers, we all know the sales routine, like where I'm having a sale and this is the message I'm going to put, and the promotion and the discount. But I think what's nice about it is I think when I started talking, I was talking about this with another agency owner, and he was talking about how excited the creative team gets when they can, instead of just focusing on like sales and profits are absolutely essential for your business, but it's kind of like that. You always want your sales to be higher, and it gets, it's like it's always, there's always going to be a number that's higher than the last one. But here you can actually, you can say we gave to this campaign, and we made this contribution, and like it gets the people internally pumped up as well, so that it's not just, it doesn't fall into that trap of e-commerce, like we're saying, differentiate like everybody else, where it's like, you have to buy this, you have to buy that, here's a sale, here's 20% off. It's now you have a different message than everybody else, and you're in that, you're in that small pack that people will remember more.
That's interesting. You both have said something that that I think is really kind of cool to pull back on a little bit, which is that this, you're like doing these campaigns, it's not just good for like your bottom line, and it's not just good for like the end consumer. Like Alanna, you said, in the beginning, like I wouldn't work for a brand that doesn't align with my values. And Stephen, it kind of seemed, it like you what you said just then reminded me of that. She was like, this can be your like giving back in cause marketing is actually something that can be a really strong motivator for internal teams. Like whether it's just something fresh to work on, or just knowing that like, okay, I'm not just, working for an organization that only cares about X, Y, and Z. Like, I think that's something really interesting to point out that you both have said in kind of different ways, like how, it actually can impact kind of even like the back office side of business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even with retention,
Yeah.
there's, if you have these values, then you're not going to leave to join another company that doesn't have them. So it can be a real difference maker.
Yeah, definitely. And it's exciting. It's motivating for me to, want to continue. If it's exciting for me, then, I want to do better at my job because, I'm helping other people.
I love that. That's so cool. And so kind of, we've talked about, kind of like how to pick the different campaigns. And I think, Alanna, like now that you have done this a couple of times, can you give our partners that might be listening or watching later, some ideas on how to cultivate maybe those metrics that you are watching, because it's this, we know giving back is important. We know that that is a known thing. Now, how do you formulate, okay, what are the success metrics of this? Like what, how do you have some advice that you can offer there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, one thing that I really like to look at is all the new customers all these campaigns have brought in. We are a US-based brand, but the majority of our business and our sales come from Japan. It just kind of happened that way, but I'm in charge of raising brand awareness in the US, and obviously that looks a lot different than the plan Japan has and what even goes on in Japan. We have to definitely sell our products a little bit different, and we care about different things than the Japanese consumers do. So yeah, like I said before, sales always number one goal, but it's, I think, really important to gain those new customers, see all those customers that are excited about donating and coming in, and then obviously keeping them around and keeping them engaged in everything that's going on with the company.
Awesome. And so we've established metrics. Okay. So, what I'm hearing there is, this idea of like, okay, how did doing this campaign impact sales? Like whether it's day over or something like that, how, were there peaks in customer acquisition that day? And, or possibly how, did our social media engagement like go bonkers that day? Did we gain new followers? Did our, how were our email open rates? And that actually goes into kind of my next question, specifically about like, Stephen, like, you have this gorgeous campaign idea, but if it's only living on your website, then does it really matter? It's like, how do you, you have to have an angle to speak to those customers about. So, based on your expertise, like how can brands effectively be communicating this give back messaging, through, like, I would say like the non-paid media, like email, SMS on their, on their website, but not, those other channels.
Right. I think I think with give back messaging, there's always this hesitation of like, hey, I'd love to do this, but it's going to be so expensive. So, let's just say we take Alanna's numbers and we figure out, oh, we got all these new customers from it and we got this ROI. If it's paying for itself and even profitable, if it's paying for itself, it is going to make you a stronger brand than if you didn't do it. So going back to, I guess going into specifics on the emails, I think you just want to really, on all your touch points, you want to drill down the things that you're doing. And it's hard because sometimes we'll write one email and say, I already said this before, but like, as we know, people don't read text. It definitely has to be emphasized. So there are these certain points that you really want to, get into it. So with like calls to action, I have a client that with every purchase, they plant a tree. It's called Tree Tribe. And, for them, when we do emails, like right near the action button, we put, if you go through this order, a tree will be planted thanks to you. So it just reinforces the action. I would say with with email, there are just certain campaigns that fit into it. Like, with the website and email, but with email, it's like your welcome series. So when someone signs up as a subscriber and, you always want to keep this rolling and get new blood and new people purchasing. And that welcome series, personally, I love when there's a letter from the founder of the company and that says, thank you for joining my list. I'm thanking you personally. And here's what we're all about. And it can emphasize those charity messages. So the welcome series is one occasion, and that's one of the top revenue earners in email. Post-purchase is also great too, because they already bought, but maybe they don't know everything. Like they just bought once, or maybe they bought twice. So the message can be reinforced on why, and how you're different.
I love that. And I think it's true. One, nobody reads. Like I'm guilty of that sometimes. Ask my team. But also, like we think that, and the other thing that I thought was great is that like we think we might be saying something a lot, but we might not be getting heard as often as we're saying it. And I think that's really important. And having those different points, like they might not read that first email from the founder, but maybe they will, in that follow-up purchase or vice versa. So like this idea of like, if it seems like if it's consistent to your message and you're doubling down on whether it's a particular campaign or a give back strategy, to making sure that every single piece of communication kind of speaks to that a little bit, like even or slightly, or at least not being afraid to talk about it more than once, but just talking about it in different ways, like whether it's showcasing your impact, like the results of a campaign.
Yes, definitely.
Or just reminding them that their purchase has the power to change the world, which is cool. So I appreciate that. And I think that that's really important. Like that's something that I feel like we preach a lot about too, is like, make this integrated. This shouldn't just be living on your website, like pull this into your other channels. That's awesome. Okay, so I have more questions, and I'm trying to be mindful of time because I feel like everybody is like zoomed out at this point in the year. But I like 2020, and like it would be amiss not to talk about this year because it's 2020 and it's continuously kept us on our toes. And so, Alanna, there's so many like something happened right at the onset of like lockdown. John Masters had planned on kind of doing something specific. I think it was for like pet awareness, might have been like dogs. And then all of a sudden, California shut down. New York shut down. Like the country just went quiet. And I remember talking to you guys around that time, and I actually gave you advice that you didn't take, and I was really glad you didn't. So can we share that story? Because it's
Yeah, totally. So as I mentioned before, animals really, they just do really well for us, as they do with most people. Everyone loves puppies. So every year we had been celebrating Pet Day in the office, and we kind of had like a bring your pet to work day. And this year we were partnering with DailyKarma, and we were going to do, you know, a donation-based promo, and that bring your pet to work day was kind of going to be our, we were going to build our content from that day. So we had like a whole photo shoot planned around bring your pet to work day. We were going to use all that content for our email and for our campaign for our upcoming promo with DailyKarma. But that day was planned for literally the day after San Francisco shut down for COVID. So, you know, after the shutdown, I think it was on a Thursday, they said, everyone, you need to immediately work from home. No one's going to go into the office for, you know, we don't know how long, obviously. So I quickly definitely had to pivot that message because I wasn't going to get any of that content for, you know, Puppy Day. And that was what the whole campaign was going to be built around. So I quickly asked my coworkers to send me pictures of their dogs in their work from home space that I could share on Instagram in the email and just for the campaign. So I ended up, you know, kind of switching it from bring your pet to work day to, hey, we're still going to celebrate National Puppy Day. We're still going to run this promo. We're still going to donate. It just looks a little bit different now. So, you know, I sent the email out, I included pictures of puppies, you know, and my coworkers in their work from home space. And I kind of we listed out some like puppy perks that are great for working from home. So like puppies reduce stress. They're a great work from home buddy. They're a natural mood booster, an excellent running partner. So it ended up working out in the end. I felt like it was just really genuine, and people still shop the promotion, even though chaos was going on in the world. You know, I feel like we're living in a time where you have to be really flexible. Things are super uncertain. Things are moving fast and slow at the same time. And you kind of just have to be willing to shift gears quickly if you need to.
And you did. I mean, and it was gorgeous. Like, it worked out so well. And I think that you, like, what I loved is that kind of going back to something that we talked about in the beginning, like, you kind of stayed true to your mission, like, versus necessarily, you know, pivoting to something like COVID or talking, you know, or doing something like that. Like, you were like, no, we're still going to focus on pets. We're just shifting it to everybody's pets are happier that we're home now, and also lean on your pets. And I thought it was gorgeous. And I mean, in that respect, the campaign still did really well. Engagement was high, you know, average order value increased. And of course there's noise happening outside my home right now. Like, welcome to 2020. It's like literally a dumpster outside right now. I feel like there's irony in that, but so it's really, you know, I thought that was such a great story, a great example of like pivoting yet still being true to who the brand was, and that your customers resonated with it. You know, you still saw, you know, high donation value. You still saw that increase in average order value because you were both true, but like just switched your messaging. And that kind of like brings me into this next idea of radical ideas. Like, I love radical ideas. Like, we love to see brands pushing the envelope in multiple ways. So, you know, it's like, we know that brands need to rise above the noise, but like, how? And you know, Stephen, we talked about this kind of in passing, but I'd love to share, you know, do you have a couple of examples of how brands have done something like really bold as it relates to giving back in their e-commerce site, and how they saw, you know, some positive results that you want to share?
Yeah, so I think with 2020, I mean, it's obviously a massive audible, you know, and there's just, everyone's in the same boat. And with that disruption, there's opportunity to be creative with it and to just, you know, and to roll with it. You know, I think with e-commerce in general, like, it's, you know, when you do something different, you can get more attention. Like, if you follow the same channel and you're in the same place, then you're just competing with everybody else. So it's always that secret of trying to find the place where you don't have as much competition and where you can speak to more people. So a couple of examples kind of came out to me at first. There is a recent example from a company called Patagonia.
Never heard of
And
that.
and what Patagonia did is on their, this is going to involve a small profanity, but so on the clothes, on the label of the clothes, under it, there is a special message on the clothes that they're distributing now, and the special message is, vote the a-holes out. So they've gotten massive press just from this initiative, but I think also with Patagonia, they're just very true to their mission, and they found a new way to express that. Looking ahead, I mean, we're entering into fourth quarter where we're going to have a big holiday season where there's a lot of opportunity for people. So another example of this is something that Everlane did last holiday season. And Black Friday is kind of, it's a polarizing holiday a little bit because it's just, some people get a little turned off by it for its celebration of consumerism, and they don't want people to have ridiculous fights inside of stores for a doll. This year that won't happen. But so what Everlane did is on Black Friday, they had a campaign that said, we started a Black Friday fund, and today the money that we receive on our orders, we're going to donate to the charity Oceana. So they were able on that day to, just to really just show their values and do something different than everybody else, shouting sale. So those are a couple of examples that come to mind with ways. And with the holiday season, it is possible to do that. I mean, it's going to be probably the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, like it's probably going to start in October even, like as brands are looking to, shipping is a little bit unreliable this year, but you can definitely play to that conscious consumer with a charitable mention. I mean, not to mention there is a big holiday on the calendar called Giving Tuesday, right after Cyber Monday, where you can showcase your charities and where it's where people are especially looking for it.
Absolutely. And I think it's like looking for kind of those inroads. Like we oftentimes talk about, like I view, cause marketing and giving back as it's a connection point because, Stephen, like you said earlier, like we kind of look at these brands as people in a certain way. Like we develop relationships with them. Sometimes we love them, and conversely, like sometimes we hate them. We can have really strong, like visceral reactions to things that they do as well. And so, anytime you're able to bring something out that's not just like, buy my cup, it's more, let's connect over this common love of this cause or common, outrage at a certain thing. I think that can be really powerful. And actually, Alanna, I know your team at John Masters actually had kind of a really recent experience with this that I'd love for you to speak to as well, because, I remember, chatting with you as it relates, it was during kind of I would not say the onset, but like the renewal of the racial justice movement. And can we dive into that a little bit? Like, I'd love for you to kind of share another story because I think it was fascinating.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as we all know, all over the US and even all over the world, people were and still are protesting for racial justice, and people are just becoming more aware. Companies are becoming more aware, which is amazing. And, I feel like I personally, and a lot of other people feel this way, but I'll always shop with a company who's making a difference or at least trying to. So I feel like customers are starting to realize that they don't want to shop with brands who are just silent and do nothing and ignoring the things that are going on around the world. So, if the consumer and the customers are out there protesting and doing, what they think is best for change, why wouldn't they want to shop with a company who's doing the same thing? So in the past, John Masters was definitely never a brand that took a stand on anything political or controversial. We just did us, but with everything going on in the world, we decided that we could not do nothing at this point. So I went to my CEO personally and I asked if we could do a whole day's worth of sales to donate to the movement that was happening. And I gave him the whole spiel that I just gave you guys, thinking that there's a chance that, he might say no. He lives in Japan, so he's not close to it like I am and like we are. But I thought, hey, at least I'll try. Turns out he listened and it resonated with him. And, the day after everyone was posting their black squares on Instagram, we were able to donate a whole day's worth of sales to the cause. And that's definitely something that we have never done before. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared of the feedback that I'd get from our customers. But you know what, it was crazy. The amount of support and positive feedback we got was wild. I had people reaching out through email, direct message, tons of comments on our posts saying how grateful they were. Tons of people saying that they've never even placed an order with us before, that they've kind of been following us, but this was the push that they needed to place that first order. So it was just wild. Our new customer sales that day doubled and our total sales for the day actually tripled. So it was just a huge success, all positive feedback. And it was a great campaign. I mean, we didn't do it for the sales that day. Obviously, I wanted to do it because I felt like it was something that needed to be done.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there was a big turning point on this, because I know a lot of times people are thinking, like, what's going to happen? Am I going to piss off my 30% of my customers by doing this? And I think the original really powerful use case was what happened with Nike and Kaepernick. That campaign, when Nike decided to showcase Colin Kaepernick, who was a controversial figure at the time, and the thing about it that struck me is not, I'll take a little more skeptical view that I don't think Nike really was 100% behind Colin Kaepernick. I think what they did is they looked at all their numbers and they said, we got to stand up for something, because we have more of a risk by not creating enthusiasm among our audience than by doing nothing. So it was more of it was also a sales calculation there too. But the point being is it did not hurt their business because they showed enthusiasm. They got, with retail, I think what Alanna's campaign did, or what John Masters Organics did, is they created enthusiasm in their audience. They're not everyone's speaking up about this, but this company is, and I really respect that because those are my values. So I want to support them and find a way to do it.
You guys give me chills, those, and I think it's true. Maybe Nike didn't, but the fact is they did, and that's amazing. Sometimes sometimes they did, and it worked, and conversely, when brands are no, we can't be silent, it still works, and awareness is raised, funds are raised, but also it's still positively impacting business so that they can continue to have platforms to take strong stands on. And I think that is really cool. And Alanna, I want to share, I actually wrote down some of these metrics because they still blow me away. In that particular campaign, you saw, your store sessions increased by 30% that day. That's bonkers. And and more than half of those customers were new customers. That's as a really strong, valuable acquisition source. And then even still, being mindful of the fact you still, raise a substantial amount of money for those nonprofits. So the nonprofits one too, that your initial goal of doing something radical was great. And I think what we saw was that trickle down effect of how this was really positively impacting business by the fact that you chose and continue to choose to take really strong stances on things can be really powerful. So, and I think that as we're talking about that true ROI of impact, it's that's what a campaign like that shows, or, talking about how, customer engagement is increased or average order value is increased, all still with this mindset that these nonprofits are gaining momentum, and they're receiving, they're receiving those donation funnels, which is everybody's winning here, which is is kind of like, it's so good. It's what it is. So I know we're running a little bit over. I just have a couple of more questions for you. You know, Alanna, you spoke to this a little bit when it comes to like the strategy on selling your stakeholders. Like, do you guys have any ideas to share with people that might want to do something, you know, big and bold at their company, but how do you sell that forward?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like for me, I just try to be as genuine as I can. You know, if it's something that I truly care about and believe in, I try to translate that to my stakeholders, because I know they're not always, you know, here with the brand. They're not on social media like I am every single day talking to our customers. So I kind of try to communicate that to them. Like I said, my CEO is Japanese and he lives in Japan, so he doesn't always know what's going on in the US. So I feel like when I bring these things up to him, he sees like how passionate I am about it, especially with, you know, the racial justice campaign that we did. And you know, he kind of just, he trusts me. If he sees how passionate I am, he's going to trust, you know, the decisions that I make, especially, I mean, the numbers obviously help if I show him like, hey, we had, you know, new customers from Instagram that we never had before, or, you know, our sales tripled that day. So the numbers definitely help. Yeah, and even just letting them know, hey, it's not enough to just sell John Masters products anymore. Like, we have to do something a little bit different. We have to try new things to get these new customers, to, you know, build brand awareness, because it is genuine. It's what we care about. So if we care about it, you know, our customers are going to care about it too.
I love that.
Yeah, so
I love
it's,
it. Stephen, anything to add?
yeah, it's a challenge sometimes to influence stakeholders. And I think just having a degree of patience about it. I mean, the reality is that Gen Z and millennial consumers see these values and associated with their brands. And I think other generations might have seen a brand as a store, as a shop, but it's not seen that way, you know, by people say under the age of 40. You know, so there is a, you know, so it does impact sales to not have it, you know, but I think there's a stepping stone for companies. Like, it's not all or nothing. You know, there are so many little ways, and, you know, with merchants, I mean, with all stores or brands, the holiday charity drive has always been in their DNA. It has always been, you know, that's what I love about DailyKarma is it's a simplification of everything I had to do to start a holiday drive in the past. You know, setting it up in all these places and vendors, but it's natural, you know, for companies to have some involvement with charities, and it's really a requirement right now to do that. But it's, you know, it's not, you know, people, you know, there are certified B corporations, you know, and I think I had a finding when I was talking about the application process of this, where when you become a certified B corporation, you're graded, but your grade is not 100. When you start a certified B corporation, your grade is like 70 or above. And then they just expect you every year to get above the previous number. You know, so and I think that's how you just think about it. Like, it's just progress. It's like, I'm doing this, you know, learning from what I did before, what else can I do in the future? You know, and it's just such a great compliment to, and I think it makes the products that you create, it gives them like a different life and a different impression than without it.
That's helpful. I think so too. I like what you just said there is like, you have to have a starting point, which is like, start somewhere and then continue to iterate and build. Like, your first campaign may not like go gangbusters, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again. It just means that like you iterate and you change and you learn, which I think we're all kind of doing. You know, no one knows. Like, you know, there's this illusion, like, all of us are figuring it out as we go. Some of us have more expertise in certain areas, but you're still iterating because there's so many things that are kind of constantly in play. And I appreciate both of your perspectives on that. You know, I guess one last question, and then we'll see if anybody else has any questions. But like, so we're almost into, I think we're technically almost into Q4, almost. So I don't think anybody saw this year coming. No one did. Like, do you have any predictions about, you know, Q4, like how how the rest of the year will turn out, whether it's, murder hornets or sales in general. Like, do you have anything that you want to share?
Uh, all right, I guess I'll start.
I'm ready.
Q4 is going to be longer this year. I think that's the prediction, because the joke is that before sales, Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales started in the beginning of November. Originally they were during that weekend. Recently they were the beginning of November, and now Amazon Prime Day is scheduled for the second week of October. So everyone's trying to be first to do sales because, again, you want to differentiate yourself so you don't compete on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to extend the holiday season. Also, shipping is not as reliable. So I think that's another reason why people are scared of putting all their cards on December 15th, just in case there's something that goes wrong with the carrier. So it's going to be a long holiday season to prepare for. And I think that the estimates for the holiday season, Klaviyo, the email service provider, they had a shocking number they said this holiday season will be 80% higher than the previous year because there's no Black Friday store event anymore, or there's not going to be as many. So everyone's used to shopping online, and also because of COVID, people are more reluctant. So I guess in preparing for a long holiday season, just the most important thing to do is to stagger your announcements and promotions. Because if you give up the house and say 30% off everything, then you have nothing, the consumer has nothing else to look forward to. So a lot of times what stores do is they just go product by product and offer different types of announcements to excite people.
I like that. I like that idea a lot. I think that's smart. I feel like we're all just kind of it's like buckle in basically until the end of the year. I've gotten that sense across the board from, our brand and agency partners. Everybody's okay, here we go. And it's thrilling because it hasn't been done before. I think this is truly going to be unique. And
I was just going to say it's all the months are a little bit different. Because I think some people might have noticed how there was this really big sales period in July, which is typically a more quiet month. And now it's a little bit it seems to be a little quieter. I think as, there's a second stimulus package expected. People don't really know when it's going to come. So it's it's just wacky. Every month is going to have a different personality, and, we just have to adapt and adjust.
I like that. I like that every month has a different personality. That's a great one. Alanna, anything to add to that as far as 2020 predictions?
Yeah, I am just taking it day by day and trying to plan the best that I can and pray that, everything is ready and in order for a holiday season. Like I said, John Masters Organics, we're a very small and scrappy team. And unfortunately, COVID did hit us. So we have unfortunately gotten even a little bit smaller. So definitely, taking it day by day, trying to, like you said, plan out all the promos in advance and do something a little bit different every day, take advantage of things like Giving Tuesday, and even just, testing out different promos like, hey, VIP customers, here's something just for you. Maybe a $25 gift card, something that we've never done before, instead of just like you said, 30% off of everything, something a little bit different.
I like that. And I think, kind of going back to to help kind of pull our entire conversation together, it seems like, one of the other ways that our partners, we have a little bit of a specific view into this, but I think that this idea of giving back plays into a lot of that as well. As it's not just necessarily going to be a single trigger. It's how is this messaging and how are we incorporating this messaging into your whole holiday season? Because people are the demand for attention is so strong right now. Either, something that we often recommend to some of our partners is if there's not an awareness holiday that is speaking to you, make one up, do something. I think that this, the challenge I think will be for this holiday season is to be like, pull out all the stops, do that creative thing that you think might sound crazy, because it might really resonate. Like we saw that in the Everlane example, you know, we saw that in Patagonia, you know, like not being afraid to kind of do something like radical is actually pretty great. So I know, you know, I want to be, again, we're running a little over. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? If so, drop them into our chat. Okay. Okay, cool. I think everybody's like ready for lunch. But I, you know, Alanna and Stephen, thank you so much. Like I love these discussions. I always feel like I gain so much insight. You know, I learn things, and I think it's fun to kind of hear your different perspectives, both from the brand side and the agency side, because everybody has these different kind of views into the world. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your partnerships, and I'm grateful to know you. So anyway, thank you for
Likewise.
joining me today, guys.
Thank you.
Same. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye guys. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.